Welcome to the Artist to Artist podcast. This is the podcast for self-taught and undertrained makeup artists who are ready to stop second-guessing themselves and start showing up like pros. My name is Angie. I'm a full-time freelance makeup artist. And in today's episode, we need to talk about boundaries. Not in like a vague self-help kind of way, but in a real on-the-job kind of way. Because if you are a newer makeup artist, this is one of the hardest parts of freelancing to figure out. Let me set the stage for you. You are booked, you're grateful for the work, but now clients are texting you very late at night, very early in the morning. You're being asked to stay longer than you agreed to. You are expected to, steam a dress, chase down a bridesmaid, maybe help with pre-production work that has nothing to do with hair and makeup. And you do it because you don't want to be called difficult, because you need the money, because you want to get rebooked, and because no one taught you how to say no without sounding rude and feeling like you're being difficult. The truth is that every time you stay silent about what your boundaries and limits are, you train your clients to cross them. When I was starting out, I had no idea what I was allowed to say. I didn't want to seem like I was difficult. I wanted people to like me. I really needed the work and I needed the money, no matter how small the rates were. So I said yes to absolutely everything. Even if it meant skipping meals on set, even if it meant doing things that weren't actually part of my job, even if I knew what they were asking me to do for hair and makeup was unrealistic in the time that I was given. And for a long time, this became my normal until I really hit my breaking point. And for me, it was this combination of doing so much for my clients, but also having a lot of personal stuff that I was dealing with. And everything just kind of came to a head. I was being overworked. The quality of my work was getting worse and worse. I wasn't enjoying jobs anymore. And the worst part, clients just kept asking for more. And there is a name for this. It is called scope creep. You may have heard this. It's when the original agreement that you make with a client about your responsibilities on a job slowly expands into something way bigger without any additional pay or even a conversation. And this happens constantly in our industry, because if you don't set the boundary, someone else will set it for you. Let me break this down for you very clearly. There are two kinds of time boundaries you need to learn. Time spent doing the actual makeup or hair and makeup, and then the time spent before and after a job that none of us really talk about. Let's start with the first one. As a newer makeup artist, you might get a schedule or a call sheet and think, okay, I guess I can make this work, even if it's like 8 faces in 2 hours. Even if there's no time for touch-ups or there's no time to maybe reset your station, work hygienically, even if you're being asked to do both hair and makeup in a totally unrealistic timeline. And here's what I wish I knew earlier about that. You are allowed to say, I cannot do that in the time given. That's not being rude. It's called being professional. Clients will actually trust you more when you're honest about time. It shows that you've done this before. It shows that you're not just guessing, and it shows that you are protecting the quality of your work. And there is a way to say this because clients do not like hearing the word no. For example, when I see a schedule that definitely will not work, I usually will say something like, based on the schedule that you sent, with the time we have, I can give you X, but not Y. So if you'd like Y, we will need, and I usually provide a few options. It's not an emotional response. It's very clear. And I think it's important to just offer a solution based on what is possible in the timing that you're given. Now let's talk about the second kind of time boundary. We'll call them the invisible hours. The pre-job phone calls, the texts at 9 p.m. from a bride asking about something that she should have asked you at the trial. Emails asking you, let's say if you are in bridal, we'll use that because it's a great example, what time the bride should get dressed, what time should you have everything prepared. A group chat that starts going off at 6 a.m., which is my worst nightmare. This is where most of us bleed out time-wise and we don't even realize it. If you were a lawyer, every one of those messages and emails would be billable, but because you're just a makeup artist, you feel pressure to help because you can. And the truth is, I think a lot of us have this in common. We are conditioned to be helpful, to be flexible, to be generous. That is part of what I think draws us to this industry in the first place. We're told that good customer service means saying yes, the customer is always right. Setting a boundary feels like a rejection. And setting a boundary feels like we might lose the job. But here's what I think you need to hear if you are nodding along to this as I'm talking on this episode. If a client truly gets offended by you protecting your time, then they were never going to respect you to begin with. And that's something that took me so many years to learn. And I still have to remind myself of this even now. Sometimes when you're starting out, you will say yes to things you probably shouldn't because you need the money, because you're trying to build relationships, because you don't know what's realistic for your skill level yet. This doesn't make you a failure. It makes you just new to the industry. I have been there. I made these mistakes as well. The key is to notice what's happening and start course correcting sooner. That's why I wanted to do this episode for you. Don't let overworking become your default. I, for many years, and probably still am, an overworker. I am a people pleaser. This is something I have had to work on all throughout my career. Part of getting better at setting boundaries is learning what you can actually do in the time that you have, and that takes practice. This is why it's so hard to figure out at first. Time yourself when you do makeup, whether it's at home, on set, wherever it is. Figure out where you're slow in your makeup applications. What part of the process is holding you up? What steps aren't necessary? What products do you keep reaching for that actually don't improve the end result or are not really adding anything to the makeup application? This is how you start learning to work under pressure without burning out. I hope this makes sense. And I do have to be honest about something else. There are artists who are going to be faster than you. And yes, some clients will leave you for that reason. They will not book you again for that reason. This doesn't mean you're not talented. It just means you are still learning and growing. Eventually, you'll match with clients who move more at your pace. You'll get faster. Your systems of application, setting up, tearing down will tighten up. Your application technique will evolve a little bit. You'll learn how to simplify and still deliver polished results. And you will learn that sometimes we only need to do good enough without going overboard. And that is the natural evolution of this career. There is something that I do have to talk about in this episode with you, and it's the fact that yes, this job is demanding. Even when you're experienced, even when you're confident, even when your client is amazing, tight timelines are normal. Clients will pretty much always want more than what there's time for. Unless you have won the lottery and you have like that 1 in a million client, you'll almost never have extra time. You will always have just enough or too little time when you're working as a makeup artist. When I see makeup artists proudly post, "I never do makeup in under 2 hours," I think that's great for Instagram. And if that is true and they're making a really great living off of doing like 2-3 hour makeup applications, or maybe that's the norm based on their market, that's great. But I think if you want to do work like me, if you want to work in bridal, campaigns, commercial jobs, you want to work on a film set, you have to work under pressure. You can't go in and demand 3 hours for a makeup application. So that's something I do want to be clear about. There is a baseline speed and intensity and pressure that exists in our jobs. We are paid to do makeup quickly for the most part. So the reality is you do have to work under pressure, and you will hear this from more experienced makeup artists. I have said it before on this podcast. I say this on social media. In your first couple of years, I think it's very important to say yes to pretty much everything to figure out where you fit in the industry, to grow your experience, to figure out how to connect with different people, all of that stuff. But with that being said, this also means if you are going to be saying yes, you do need to be clear on your limits and honest about where your skills are at. If you can't deliver a makeup application or hairstyle in the time that is required, or it's a tighter timeline and you just cannot do it, you should not take that job. It's going to make you look bad. It will burn bridges, and it's really not worth it. And I feel like a lot of what I'm sharing with you is a little bit conflicting in this episode, but this is just the reality of how crazy this job is, especially in the first few years when you don't know what the hell is going on. In a lot of respects, boundaries are not just about protecting your peace, right? And all of this. It's really also about protecting your reputation. So how do you draw that line without feeling guilty? How do you draw that line without limiting yourself from experiences that will help you grow as an artist? Let's go over a few examples. If a client texts you at 10 p.m. or like midnight, you do not have to respond, especially if it's not important, if it's just a text for text's sake. You don't need to explain why, you just don't answer it until the next day. If you're being asked to stay later on set, for instance, PS, you should always be quoting for overtime, and you should always be clarifying with the people that you're working with how many hours the shoot day is scheduled for, and reiterating that that's what you agreed upon, and then quoting for overtime. But that's maybe another topic for another day. If you're being asked to stay late on set, here's an example of what you can say. I'm happy to stay, 10 or 15 minutes past the wrap time that we agreed upon, but anything beyond that, I'm going to have to charge overtime. Let me know how you want to proceed. Do you want me to pack up now and go, or do you want me to stay another 10 minutes? That's it, right? It's just you're communicating your boundaries clearly. You're saying it calmly. You're just letting them know what the procedure is. You're not a bad person. You are a business at the end of the day. If you're doing a personal service and someone only wants to book you for 1 hour, let's say, but then sends all these elaborate inspiration photos, last minute, full glam, whatever it is, with different add-ons, you can say, based on the time that we've booked, I can offer this to you or this version of this look, but I won't be able to include every single detail that you want. Let me know if you'd like to book an extra hour, totaling 2 hours. Here's the rate for that, and I can adjust accordingly. This way, you're showing flexibility within a boundary. If you're going to need me for longer, you're going to have to pay me to stay longer. You're not abandoning the job and saying you can't do it. You're not being rude, and you're not over-explaining or apologizing why you need to charge more. And you're offering your expertise by letting the client choose so they feel like they're in control. And if you're still struggling with saying no, you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm just not good at saying no. I'm not a mean person. You don't have to be mean. No is not a bad word. You just have to be clear. You don't need to over-explain. That's something I know a lot of us do. You just need to kind of protect your business, the procedures, the booking policies that you implement for every client. That's what you have to stand behind. If you don't protect your boundaries with your time, you're going to end up crusty makeup artist, bitter, burnt out, underpaid. You will be so broke. You will hate your life. You will hate the job. And I can say that from experience. I have to still rein it in from time to time with certain clients that I have. And it's just part of running a business. The best thing I ever did for my career was stop trying to be this chill, sort of like easygoing, no problem, I can do this, I can do that. This artist who could do it all. With certain clients, I would say, I'm not going to be able to do hair, or I'm only booking makeup for bridal. These are ways that I protected my boundaries because I felt like I was getting taken advantage of with certain clients. Now I communicate way more clearly. I make sure I always quote for overtime. I include my cancellation policies. It doesn't matter how many times my clients have booked me, they get my booking policies and procedures. I state exactly what's included in the rate. I'm just very clear. I stand behind what I stand for in my business. And if someone doesn't like it, they can find someone else. And I know this is a hard one to hear, but truly it's better for you. And I'm really no longer scared of that. And one more thing I wanted to add, even if you're not confident with what I'm telling you yet, say or set the boundaries anyways. You will grow into it. You don't need to truly in your soul feel like a pro to start acting like one, right? Like part of why I have this podcast, why I do the artist to artist membership is to kind of equip you with the knowledge that I have had from all of the years I've been doing this and all of the mistakes that I've made to help the difficult times in your career be a little bit easier, to help save you from making the same mistakes I did. You just got to kind of go in there with the mindset of a pro, which is, why I'm sharing all of this with you. That's how you slowly start to build the confidence you're looking for, right? Fake it until you make it. That's what part of this is all about. If this episode hit a nerve for you, if you've been saying yes to things you know you shouldn't, or you're kind of working way beyond what you are paid for, there is more support for you inside the Artist to Artist membership. There is content in the membership where we talk about the pro artist mindset, boundaries, showing up with confidence. This is to help you stop shrinking yourself on jobs where you should really be leading. In the membership, you will get weekly lessons, templates, scripts like some of the ones I shared today, and support from someone who's been through all of this multiple times. It's $20 a month Canadian. You can cancel anytime, and there is a 7-day free trial, so you can jump on in and try it out without the pressure and the stress. I will include the link to the membership for you in the show notes. If this episode helped you, please send it to another artist who needs to hear it. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, hit that subscribe or follow button or whatever it is so you never miss a new episode. And I will talk to you in 2 weeks' time. Bye.